What I'm going to say is not going to please everyone. But I'm not here to please everyone. It's better to be respected than to be liked and popular. Trinidad and Tobago, whether some of us believe it or accept it enough, don't owe us anything. It don't matter how young you are. There is no sense of entitlement or dependency. God gave each one of you in here a talent and the potential to create something from that talent. But our biggest problem as a country and as a people is that we don't appreciate our talent and our potential and the responsibility that that talent gives us. And many of us feel we reach too fast. And as such, our country, Trinidad and Tobago, is laden with talent that was never fulfilled. They're in the jailhouses, they're filled with anger and disrespect. And the first thing each of us in this room must understand, if you don't have respect and love for yourself, you cannot respect and love anyone else. John F. Kennedy said, don't ask what your country could do for you, but ask what you could do for your country. There is no one in here, regardless of what you are doing. If you're a coach, media person, parent, guardian, young athlete, there is no one in here that don't have the potential to be somebody. But many of us make the choice to be nobody. And then we blame everybody except ourselves. There are many people in this room, people like Shannara, former West Indies cricketer. You have Lauryn Williams, a great. What she has done, many people wouldn't do in a lifetime. She's a two-time, three-time Olympic medalist. One of 5 Olympic athletes to have won a medal in winter and summer Olympics. The first female Olympian, a world junior champion, an NCAA champion, a 9-time All-American, a world champion in the 100 meter, Olympic champion in the 4x1, Olympic silver medalist. We have never had in Trinidad and Tobago a female to climb our Olympic podium. And why some of us feel we reach. If you cannot respect the achievement of others, you can't respect your own achievements. Lauryn Williams' father happens to be from Charlottesville, Tobago. The rest of her family in Trinidad is from Paramin. She has Trini roots. Lauryn Williams' story is not only a story for track and field athletes, it's a story for every person in Trinidad and Tobago who don't believe that they can do it. She was saying yesterday, and I heard her say this at an interview. I could only believe her. She said she never took a vitamin or supplement when she was pregnant. She relied on good nutrition. She believed in hard work. She believed that she wasn't making a sacrifice. It was a challenge and an opportunity for her. She went to the University of Miami. Some of us don't have the courage and discipline and guts to even graduate from secondary school. She went to the University of Miami and graduated with a degree in finance. Got a master's degree. Did the coursework to get certified financial planner. Created a business and wrote a book initially for track and field athletes, parents, coaches and guidance that laid out, it lays out step by step what each of you track and field athletes who happen to be here this morning would want to do and know. How can I make it? Other young athletes can also take those same principles, because I read the book. And as a business person, it laid out the principles to make a successful business person. A key thing is that if you want to be a professional athlete, and I dare say if you want to be a professional anything, if you want to be a professional anything, you're a business. And if you're not prepared to be a business, then you're not prepared to be a professional athlete in whatever sport. And I dare say coach, I dare say media person, I dare say sports administrator. The book is worth reading. The other thing I want to take the opportunity to do before I hand you over to Lauryn Williams, and I know that she had an opportunity to speak to some of the young track and field athletes before. I encourage those of you here because she has explained to me that she prefers an interactive feedback, ask her questions. She's not going to read the book is there. If you want to read the book, you read the book. If you want to ask her a question, if she will explain her journey, feel free to do so. One thing that, come to be shy young lady. No, good morning, I know it is. It's happening in best hours, eh? Sit down next to Mr. Ram, right? So as you know, the Olympic Committee has some aspirations called 10 or more Olympic gold medals by the year 2024. We have future is female, we have sport industry. So 10 or more Olympic gold medals by the year 2024 is not just about the hardware. It's about which athlete, whether the sport, believes that they have the heart, mind, and soul of the champion. Many are called, few are chosen. To be an Olympic champion and to achieve what Lauryn Williams have achieved takes the mind and heart of the champion and the willingness to dream big. And to not just survive, but to thrive. And to be able to look people in the eye and say, I'm a champion. And not be faking it. Some of us is faking. We believe having talent and potential is being a champion. Being a champion is not only how strong you are, how fast you are, how better you may be now, but if you're a good human being. And that's the message and lesson of Lauryn Williams. And that's why we're very pleased Because one of the things the Olympic Committee constantly do is examine what we could do better. And the fact that most of the people and athletes involved in Team TTO don't necessarily have the mindset of a champion, and that they believe that they're entitled and government must provide everything. As far as I'm concerned, as the president of the Olympic Committee and the Trinidad and Tobago Commonwealth Games Association, it's the Olympic Committee and the Commonwealth Games Association, we have failed. Because as much as we feel we have done and we are doing, we are not doing enough. And that's why we continue to try everything. We have brought Vicky Saunders, an expert in brand building. We have brought financial people to talk to the athletes, and they are falling asleep in the workshops because they find accounts on psychology and planning and proper nutrition boring. Because what they only know is that they can run fast, hit a ball hard, hold fast, jump fast, swim fast, and that's all it takes. So, in closing, I will take the opportunity today to confirm that under the umbrella of 10 Goal by 2024 Featured Female or Athlete Welfare and Preparation Fund, that the reason why we have encouraged Lauryn Williams to come, and let me tell you, if you feel that I may be a bit strong, I'll tell you why I'm a bit strong. Because part of the agreement we have with Lauryn Williams is that she will come here, she will feel the pulse and the energy of the athletes, the coaches, and the stakeholders, and decide if she wants to be part of it. Because she has achieved too much and worked too hard to tolerate mediocrity and disrespect. So if she continues on and if she agrees to work with us on the initiative I will now tell you about, then it will depend on how we interact with her. Because she won't need us. She already have achieved. We need her. So the program is called Thrive Team TTO, or Team TTO Thrive. And what this program will do is offer to young athletes who want to do it the opportunity to develop the business of themselves and to be entrepreneurial. We will have more information and details and we discuss further with the TTOC executive and the Commonwealth Games executive. But it is not something new, it is just another initiative that comes under the umbrella of 10 Goal by 2024. And as I said, that we have an Olympic Committee to accept the responsibility that if Team TTO is not thriving, and we are still depending on the Elite Athlete Assistance Program, which is a wonderful program, and the government's reward and incentives, then we are not really building a business and a brand that is sustainable. So, thank you very much for coming. I see the eagerness in the faces, notwithstanding some of you may have spoken to the Olympic legend before. To hear what she has to say, so I now invite, well, I don't know if you, I think the people who have put up this year, you wanted to sit before this?
Yes.
Well, not necessarily. So wherever you're most comfortable, it's your show, you start, whatever, and I'm quite sure people will, it have some people here. If they are just too quiet, it have some people who will ask questions. Spanish, John will have, Jariel. We have people who will make sure that there is no dead end. So over to you and thank you. And we take this opportunity to thank you very much for your generosity, your spirit. We appreciate it.
Definitely. Well, thank you all for having me this morning. I didn't prepare any specific remarks because we were meeting and greeting, so I'm hoping that you guys do have some questions. But to piggyback off of what Brian said, I think the things that stood out to me was this idea of to whom much is given, much is required. And a lot of what I feel is that people think that I was given a lot, but really what you're given is inside of you. So my Trinidadian roots are inside of me. And the things that you get because of who you are naturally on the inside is what you've been given. So we're looking at a lot all the time for the resources. And Brian was talking about, depending on the country. In America, I didn't have a bunch more resources than you guys have here in Trinidad. I started initially running club track. You guys running age group track. And people would have to donate their old shoes for me to have a pair of shoes to run in. You get out to the track, you run in whatever shoes you have. Sometimes it was, a basketball shoes on the track. And you start from nothing, but you use what's inside of you. And that's what drives you initially to get going. So instead of focusing, I think, and I talked about this yesterday with some of the athletes, on the obstacles and what's not available, we need to focus on what we do have. And what we do have is already inside of us. So even if you go to the track every day barefoot, does not mean that you can't succeed. I started with that club track opportunity. People saw my promise and they started to invest in my potential. So having that potential, working hard toward reaching my full potential on my own, shoes or without shoes, people started to see and started to take note by that. The other thing is that you have inside of you, no one can take away from you, is your ability to educate yourself. And that was something my parents drove into me from day one. Anything you want, anything you want to achieve, you can find if you get the right information. And libraries get the books to you for free. So we don't have any excuses as it pertains to, so-and-so has this and I don't have that. The internet is a world of information. It's all what you choose to use it for. It's, social media is available on your phone. It's something you can go into the black hole of all day long and not learn anything. Or you can choose to use the internet, use the technology, use the tools, use the books that are available to teach yourself. Because you don't need a big fancy college education. It's a wonderful thing when you get the opportunity to have that, but you get to educate yourself along the way each and every day, no matter what the circumstances are. And I think that was the thing that kind of started to set me apart at a very young age, is I always had my nose stuck in a book somewhere. I wanted to get that academic scholarship to college. I realized that I was going to need some more opportunity to get more education in order to continue to reach whatever my full potential was. I didn't grow up wanting to be an Olympic athlete. I grew up wanting to be a neonatologist. And at 5 years old, other people are saying, I want to be a firefighter, a police officer, those sorts of things. I was trying to mumble along saying the words neonatologist, and people were saying, where did you get that from? And I met a lady once that was a neonatologist, and she told me how important education was. So frequently you hear it from your parents, it's important, it's important, it's important, until you see someone that is a role model and someone that is that example of what education is. Do you want to mimic that thing? And so I didn't know anything about being what a neonatologist meant, but I knew that I needed to get a lot of education to do that, and that was the thing that was pushing me along the way, is get all the education you can so that you can go ahead and achieve whatever it is that you want. And so when I started thinking about university, I have 5 sisters, 2 brothers. My father was sick with leukemia. He was on disability. There was not a lot of money to go around. So it was going to be academic scholarships. And then I saw these letters start to come in the mail for track and field scholarships. And I was like, this is a thing? I didn't realize that this was an opportunity for me. But by working hard toward a goal, the goal being to get the education and to use track and field as whatever it could to take me to the next place, a door opened for me, and I got the opportunity to go to the University of Miami. And so now the resources are available to me because I have a coach that is now trained professionally to do this job. Whereas in the club and the high school ranks, there was always a person volunteering their time that didn't know very much about the sport. So the talent was what was on the inside of me, the education and the will was on the inside, and then the resources came later. Once you started to use what you already had inside, your potential, the doors will open, people will see your potential, and you'll get the opportunity, and then the resources will come alongside of you. And then I got from the University of Miami, I just wanted to repay my coach for the opportunity to get a free education. I thought it was the best thing in the world that I wasn't going to have to find $40,000 a year. I think it's now closer to $60,000 a year to go to that school. And the fact that she thought that I was enough to give me that gift of education so that I could then go out into the workforce and do my part to contribute to society was a wonderful thing to me. I worked really hard for her because I wanted to repay her, and like I said, once again, I started to grow again, and my track and field potential continued to increase. not because of what I wanted to do, what I wanted to be, but because of the people around me, and I realized what they invested in me, and that was my motivation to keep going. So as a junior in college, when I made it to the national championships and I won, I ran the second fastest time in the world, it wasn't a shock or a surprise to me from the standpoint of, look what I've achieved. It was a shock and a surprise to me because I was now going way above and beyond the things that I had initially set the goal. So you set a goal in front of yourself, you put the details in place to be able to achieve that goal, and you'll easily exceed that goal as long as you execute on each and every one of the details of achieving the goal that you want to achieve. And so that's what happened for me. Was I was working hard toward this one thing, and it opened a door for this whole new opportunity. And now more resources are available on the professional level. Someone is paying me to run track and field. I think sometimes we start and we think, oh, I want to be the fastest athlete. I'm going to be as fast as I possibly can. Someone's going to pay me a lot of money to do that. And you're skipping all these steps in between to what it takes to be successful. And being a successful athlete is not just about being a successful athlete. It's about being a successful person. It's about being a well-rounded person. We talked yesterday when I was talking to the CRIF, the athletes, about the idea that you have to be ready in all facets of life in order to really maximize your potential as a professional athlete. So you can't stand up in front of the media and not be able to put a good sentence together and think that that's going to take your career to the next level. Running fast is not going to be enough. You're going to also have to have all the other tools that are the business tools to be able to take yourself to the next level in life. And so that's why I made the book. That's what I created because I learned that the hard way. As I was going through my career, I didn't have all these things figured out. I was doing a lot of picking it up and learning as I was going, picking it up, learning as I was going, making mistakes, and learning as I was going. But I realized very early on that this was a lot more than me showing up to the track and running fast. This was me, explaining to my agent why I wanted to travel, in this way versus that way. Why I didn't want to go in the middle of the night because it was really hard for me once I got over to Europe to get on the right schedule. I'd rather travel during the day. Little things like that, and I had to go ahead and make those decisions and tell them as opposed to someone telling me. And so as athletes, we do a lot of being coached. But as a professional athlete, you have to do a lot of being the coach where you're running the business and you're telling people what you need in order to be able to succeed. So I thought it was really important that I share the information that I have. The reason, like you said, that I came to Trinidad was because I've been doing a lot of thinking about my Caribbean roots and how I can give back, like I said, not just to what's been happening over in America. So I'm very involved in the United States Olympic Committee. I'm running my own business as well. And I haven't reached my full potential either. Brian was talking about the idea of, reaching your potential. Like, reaching potential is not something that just happens. There's no one achievement that says, okay, now you got it all. Now everything is okay. Like I said, I'm still working hard to get a business off the ground. I'm still working hard to build a relationship with the United States Olympic Committee so that I can give back to the next generation of athletes coming up. And I said, if Trinidad will have me and accept that I love that I have those roots inside of me, despite not being raised here, I would love to give the things that I know, the resources that I have back to you all so that we can continue to move the sport industry forward in this country as well. So I'm here because I want to be a resource, and I'm happy to do whatever I can to take you guys to the next level as long as you want it. So with that, I'm going to shut up, and I'm going to let you all ask me anything you want. I'm an open book. Or we can go home, yay!
As an athlete, okay, most athletes, when they complete their professional career, they decide to go into coaching, be a agent. Why did you decide this was more important to instead of motivational statement? Do you think about going to coaching also?
I would not think about going into coaching. And this is actually a really good question. So one of the biggest things that we struggle with as athletes is who we are outside of our athletic identity. And I had quite a struggle with this as well as I transitioned from sport to life after sport. So as I said, I had the opportunity to go to Miami. I got a finance degree there, and I had no goals or aspirations of becoming an Olympian. So I was thinking I was going to get a job and do something in the financial field, and I got lucky enough to take a little detour into the sports world. But while I was doing sports, I also knew that I needed to continue my education because track and field was not going to last forever. So I also got a master's degree in business to kind of keep myself abreast of what was going on. And I knew I didn't have the ability to be able to work because I was training full time, commitments and with the travel schedule, etc. But it was like, what can I do to better improve myself to keep my education going? And the thing I would encourage you as athletes is that you're not just an athlete. You're a daughter, a son. You are interested in the chemistry I heard today, biology. There's all sorts of different things that make up a part of who you are. You might love rugby and cricket or watching something else. You might love reading books. There's so much more to who you are as a person than just an athlete that you don't have to allow anyone to put you in a box. And so when I was transitioning, there's an answer, like this is all the answer to the question, but as I was transitioning, I got that question quite a bit. Oh, you're done. What are you going to do now? You must be going to coach. You must be going to be a personal trainer. And I would say, no, I'm not. And then, well, why not? Why would you not do that? And coaching in and of itself is a skill. It's an ability. It's quite different than being an athlete. It is quite different than being a chef, being a police officer. It's not that those two things are not synonymous. Athlete does not go with coaching. The skill and the ability that it takes to be a good coach is far, far beyond what it takes to be a good athlete. And you can't just take those two things and put them together. You wouldn't want me to coach anybody. I can make your kids slower, not faster. That is not my ability. That's not my skill set. That is not my talent. But I did know that after 10 years, 12, multiple years of competing in sport, that I did want to stay in the sports industry. And so during my experiences, I figured out, where are the gaps? And the gaps were athletes are not taking good care of their money. They're very focused on what's happening right now, the great earnings that may be coming in, the performances, and a lot of people in the athlete entourage are encouraging them, you don't worry about anything, you just take care of business on your field of play. And that is the wrong mindset, that is the wrong way to approach, and I've seen so many of my peers struggle life after sport because they didn't take good care of their finances. So it was easy for me to, I didn't realize those seeds were being planted with the finance degree, the business degree, etc. But to put those things, those skills that I had with the skills of the information I have as an athlete together to be able to help athletes organize their finances. Life skills is, like I said, a very important part of organizing your finances. So it was a no-brainer for me to start working with the USOC on life skill programming and working with the USA Track and Field to figure out what can we do to make sure that athletes know what they need to know. And then it came to me one night, there's no information, there's no one place to read about this and to kind of figure this all out. Why don't I just start writing it? And one night turned into 34 pages of notes, and 34 pages of notes started to turn into what is now a book. So the information I have is still to give back to sport, but it wasn't in the coaching capacity. It wasn't in the personal training. It wasn't in the commentating. Those are not my skill sets, but I had to figure out how to take the information that I have, the skills that I do have, and create something. And that's the spirit of entrepreneurship, and that's the spirit of what a professional athlete is anyway. So hopefully that answers the question.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay.
When you started developing, getting these new doors open, when did you actually sit down and think, what is it that's my brand? What is it that I'm presenting? Who am I? What's my business? As you said, you had to build that place up. When did you know, how do you know what your business is?
It's about understanding your purpose. And so you got to ask yourself why. Why am I here? Why do I enjoy waking up and participating in whatever it is each and every day? Why do I want to do this thing, or why do people think that I'm good at this thing? Because that does play a part into it. What other people think is not so much what matters, but they may be telling you, this is how I see, and this is a skill set that you have that you don't even realize you have. So understanding what your purpose is and what your why is, what kind of makes you tick, is the first part of kind of developing your brand and your platform. And the key that I say to any kind of brand or platform that you want to build is authenticity. So like you said, it's not authentic of me I'm sure somebody would have hired me as a coach, and I could be going somewhere around and just kind of coaching my way through things, and I don't know, maybe, I think I would still be hired. I might be fired by now. They would figure me out eventually, but it wouldn't be very authentic. So, in thinking about the things that come natural to you and make you feel like you want to continue to increase your potential and figure out. So, for example, in my financial business right now, at first it was figuring out how to get people to come, and it's like it's not natural at marketing, but I'm really passionate about this project. So it was not so hard for me to dive into a marketing book or go to marketing courses and things like that, because I knew I had enough passion to that's not fun, but this is the information I need to be able to do the thing that I'm passionate about. And so then you start to kind of piece together, what is that thing that makes me want to go, and doesn't make these other things that are a little bit harder so hard that I can't go after them. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so, so I was going somewhere with that. So with the business, so with my business, one of the things I've been struggling with recently is, the best way to talk to different individuals. So I'm kind of short, direct, straight to the point. You need to fix this. You need a budget. Everybody doesn't respond to that the same way. So what I've been doing now is reading more about like behavioral finance and, understanding what someone is saying to me, and then knowing how to better say back to them. I have the answer, but I can't just give the answer to you the same way that I would give the answer to this gentleman and it be received well. So there I am once again. I'm not super interested in learning the psychology and all those different things, but the psychology is important for me to be able to help you, and helping you is the thing that I'm passionate about. So you piece those things together, and then your purpose is had, and then you build a platform around that.
I wanted to say congratulations.
Thank you.
I'm very pleased to hear about the success of a female athlete. We struggle so much. I wanted you to clarify, however, for me, and maybe for others. You mentioned that you were available and willing to be a resource. And so that's a big kudos,
Yeah.
How can we manage, or what is your interpretation of how this resource would work?
So we don't have a clear answer yet. I'm open to any suggestions you may have, but so what things that I've done in the States that have started to go well, we're doing webinars on a monthly basis about various topics. So like you said, the branding, the finances, one-on-one back and forth with the athletes about their personal situation, because a lot of people don't want to talk about money. So you stand up here with a PowerPoint and tell people you need a budget, you need to save some money, and it's like, that's all fine and good. Everybody knows that, but this is my particular situation, and this is why I can't save. So a lot of one-on-one interaction has been going really well with the program that I'm doing in the States. Other things is showing up here and, like I said, making myself available. So whether that is, like I said, showing up at the practices with the athletes, being a resource to them as we talk about nutrition, and it's not that you need always a certified nutritionist. We had a conversation earlier about like, what are the vegetables? What are the barriers to being able to get vegetables? What are the barriers to being able to have fruit available to you? So kind of as a non-biased or a nice even keel person to have available to you to say, here's the information I have. This is how it worked for me. And letting them take that information and do with it as they see fit. So I think that's one of the good ways to be a resource as well. Other? No?
Well, yeah.
What would you suggest? I think you have something already in mind. Yeah.
No, actually I'm listening to you and I'm thinking of some challenges at a particular organization to which I belong. And we have a challenge in determining how best can we fill some gaps for young athletes.
Right.
In a more structured and developmental way, touching on many of the things that you, which is really being, getting the ability to do more than just concentrate on achieving some success in sport, but helping them develop the whole person.
So that's mentorship, yeah. And I think that's a really important part. So maybe a mentoring program is something that we could put together, because that's something that has gone really well. So in the States, they have a program called the ACE. I don't know what it, anyways, but they have athletes, they have business owners, all kinds of people that sign up. And what the athlete does is they log in online and they look through the different list of the people who are there and they say, oh, like I'm interested in finances. So I've had athletes reach out to me either for help with their finances via that site, or because they're interested in getting into the financial industry. And so I share my experience about, best way to get into the industry, who you should meet, make introductions for them, etc. And I think, like I said, what's going to be key is kind of more customized advice. So people are going to want to communicate one-on-one, build a relationship, and they can make changes when they're being held accountable. So if every week I'm meeting with someone or every month I'm meeting with someone, they know that they have to have done something different by the next time we meet, and that kind of gets them going versus, like I said, standing up here and giving you a PowerPoint with all the tools and then you walk out and you don't do anything with the tools that I gave you. So
because I wanted to kind of go beyond the PowerPoint and really kind of dig a little bit more deeply into our reality.
It's going to be the investment of time, though. We're going to have to find people that are willing to make the investment of time. Because I know we have plenty of successful business owners, professionals, and those that are interested in attaching themselves to an athlete. We just have to go out and feel like asking them, get the program ordered and organized, and then, like you said, start to implement it. And I don't think that's something that has to be super costly either. To donate your time once a month for an hour to speak to someone is going to give them the initiative to be able to say, okay, these are the next steps I need to take if I want to go to college. These are the next steps I need to take if, sport is now done for me and I need to get a job or whatever the case may be. So.
Thanks a lot, because maybe we talk again.
Yeah.
Because it's now you've just triggered some additional inspiration.
Very good.
Yeah, Lauren, can I speak up to the part of persistence? How that played a part in your development? Because we have, as Mr. Lewis stated earlier, we have some athletes who are very talented and at some points they hit roadblocks and then some give up. You have had, although you have had a very successful career, along your path you have had a lot of disappointments, obviously. So, and you speak to how important sporting persistence is in terms of athletic success or as life success.
Yeah, persistence is incredibly important. And a word we used earlier today was consistency. So this idea of, not just putting in 5% effort this day, 10% this day, 100 this day, and going back and forth. It's really hard to be consistent in addition to persistent. And one of the things that I think that I've had to realize is that you're going to get kicked in the face. Like, it's going to happen. Whether you are at the top of the totem pole or you're at the bottom trying to work your way up to the top. So things that I've come up against, injury as an athlete is one that it could be career ending. It could be season ending. It could stop you from participating in a championship. But what do you do to continue to get yourself up, get going, keep moving forward? And one of the things that I do is what I call a 24-hour pity party. So things happen. I think a lot of people like to stand up in front of you and say, just keep going, you can do it, rah, rah, rah. But we have to acknowledge that sometimes stuff sucks and that we're going to feel sad, we're going to feel angry, we're going to feel the disappointment. All those different things are natural, and everyone is human. So it's okay to feel any of those things, but we don't want to drag that feeling out forever and ever to the point that we give up and then we're no longer persistent. So in order to be consistent and persistent, what the 24-hour pity party does is, okay, I failed miserably at this thing and I feel terrible about it. So I had a bad practice. The time that I implemented it actually was in 2007 World Championships. I got the silver medal, I thought that I got the gold medal, and I just felt like the biggest failure on the planet. It was just, I worked so hard to get to this point, and then I had the disappointment of not winning. And it's like, first of all, let's put a little perspective. You're the second fastest person in the world, Lauren. Like, shut up and stop complaining. But, there was a lot of injury that was happening that year and a lot that I fought back from because I didn't think I was going to compete at all at those World Championships. I thought about actually giving up my position so that, like, the fourth place person could go and compete because I didn't think that I was going to. I'd better have somebody else there that was definitely going to be able to compete versus somebody who may or may not. So the 24-hour pity party is this. You go, you feel sad, you say bad things, you cry, you pout, you do whatever. You have 24 hours to wallow in whatever that thing is, and then you wake up the next day and you start focusing on the opportunities. So I talked a lot yesterday about, like I said, obstacles versus opportunities. And I think a lot of times we get these roadblocks in front of us and we just, oh my goodness, the roadblock, oh my, like, instead of spending so much time thinking about the roadblock, like, drive your car over it, get out and jump over it. Like, we gotta not focus on the obstacle, we gotta focus on the opportunity that's on the other side. So instead of stopping, and saying what we can't do, what we're not going to do, what we didn't do, how we failed, we use our failures to move ourselves forward. And moving ourselves forward has to happen pretty much immediately. So acknowledge it doesn't feel good, this was terrible, it stunk, and then get up and start thinking about how can I change, how can I redirect myself so that things can go better on the next day. And it does, like I said, it happens still regularly, like especially starting a new business. You know, you get a big client on the phone, you think they're gonna love you think you told them everything they wanted to hear, and then you follow up with them and you never hear anything back. And you're just like, what happened? This is awful. Like, I'm a great financial planner. They'd be lucky to have me. Like, but they don't like me, so maybe I really stink at this. Maybe I said something, maybe I need to take a speaking class now. And then I go down this whole road of like how I did not succeed at this thing, and then I have to stop myself and say, okay, Lauryn, you didn't get that client, but there's 300 million people in America. Like, you can't have 300 million clients. There's a lot of others out there though. This wasn't yours. There's something else. And so operating too from a position of abundance. So instead of thinking about the scarcity and there's not enough and I gotta grab everything that's around me and in front of me, think of it as there's a lot more than I could ever believe to see or achieve. There's so much available to me, so much abundance, that I just need to go ahead and captivate what it is that the Lord has for me. So I don't know if that really answered the question, but
what is your best moment as an athlete? What is your best moment ever as an athlete?
Best moment ever. I get this all the time. It's hard to like quantify as just one thing because I had a really good career. And I think in the moment you do a lot less appreciating what is happening and how important those moments are than you do once you're able to look back. And so currently the one that stands out to me the most is 2 days before I think it was 3 days before the Olympic Games in bobsled, we wrecked our sled. And we wrecked the sled to the point that it was total. So a bobsled costs around $80,000. They don't come cheap. They don't have lots of them laying around. It's not like, you know, a pair of shoes. You could borrow somebody else's shoes in a pinch at a track meet. Not ideal at the Olympics, but you can still pull it off. In bobsled, there's no extra sled. Well, we did in fact have the prototype sled sitting in the USA House, which was about 2 hours away from where we were actually competing. They went and they stole the prototype sled that was on display, used the parts that were inside of it to piecemeal our sled back together in less than 24 hours. So I don't know if you've ever seen a car get totaled, mash up, right? You don't usually fix that car in 24 hours. That's the reason they call it total. Our sled was totaled, but 24 hours later we had a sled. And we weren't sure because it was all new technology that had just been introduced that year. The mechanics were still learning about it, what was going to happen with this sled they put together in 24 hours. So we get to practice the next day, we put it on the ice, and everybody's nervous. Not just the two of us that actually have to get in this sled, but everybody who knows what happened. They saw the sled the day before. How is this possible, basically, is how everyone was thinking. Anyways, we get in the sled, we don't even push the sled because we're just kind of like, let's just take it slow, see what happens, you know, test it out or whatever. We had the fastest time of the day without even pushing the sled. And pushing the sled is the main part of like getting the engine going. So we get back, and so with the sled, it's around 400 pounds. You gotta put the sled on a truck. The truck goes back to the top of the mountain, and then you pull the sled off the truck. We got to the top of that mountain that day, and every country was standing there cheering as if we had just won the Olympic Games. It was the most amazing moment to see, you know, what the true Olympic spirit is about. It's this idea that people are coming together. It doesn't matter what color you are, what country you're from, your race, what sport, that we're competing against one another. Everyone was there because they knew we were the favorite to win. So, you know, it's going to be a very close race between us and the Canadian team. The Canadian team won by 0.01, but that's neither here nor there. But people wanted to be able to see the good competition. They wanted to see everybody have their opportunity to put their best foot forward. And that moment was like so very real that was a real thing that people really want in sport, not so much as something people just say. Because they were cheering, and everybody got the sled off for us, and they were just like, oh my goodness, you guys are gonna be able to do it, I can't believe you pulled it off. Like, it was just, it was better than if we had won the gold medal, because everybody was rooting for us in that moment. So that answers the question.
So all that you didn't know, if you were to go back to talk to your younger self, You know to what you want to achieve, and then he said he set goals and what he wanted to do. So you went through it. If you had something to tell your younger self and you first started, what would you say to yourself?
What would I say to my younger self? Don't be so stupid, little girl. I was very stubborn, so I got something in my head, and I've always been very calculated. So, as an example, in high school, my father would always have me coming home by 8 o'clock at night, and I'm like, I'm in high school now, and I was a class president, and I was a student council president, and I'm like, I got events to be at, and I'm doing track and basketball, and he's like, 8 o'clock, you better be here. And so I'm always like trying to figure out how to get around it. So one time, there was a school dance, and I was just like I planned this dance. I organized it for everybody else to go to, and he telling me I'm gonna have to be home at 8. It's starting at 7. Like, this is crazy. So to calculate, so I thought about everything. I made a calendar and mapped out all the events that were coming up for the next few weeks, and what I wanted to miss and what I was okay not having. And I was like, okay, I think I got this. So I decided to stay late to that party. I got grounded, and I had exactly how long I knew I was going to be grounded for, and then I had a plan. Okay, I didn't miss this, so I started planning events for the 2 weeks after. That's the kind of stubborn kid that I was. But to my younger self, I would say, like, don't be so stubborn. Don't be so pig-headed that you don't take into consideration what older and wiser people are trying to share with you, because he was trying to protect me. That's what my father was trying to do. And to really just think about, like, what is happening right now and how is what's happening right now going to affect me in the future. Because it's really, really hard to be forward thinking all the time, but the more that you can do that, the better off you're going to be. What is the result of me choosing to go to this party tonight versus, staying home, getting enough rest to go to training the next day. And even with the dangers of going to the party, you could be shot or killed, or all sorts of different things now come up in various situations. But thinking ahead as it pertains to, like I said, saving my money, thinking ahead as to eating this cheeseburger and not feeling good for the next 3 days, like to really think more about, like, what am I doing in this moment, and how is what this moment is what is happening in this moment going to affect what my outcome could be in the future. Because I think as much as I did it, I didn't do it enough. And there's some instances where it felt a lot better. They're like, oh, let's just do this right now. And then you look down the road, you're like, oh man, like, I screwed this up. So.